The 1970s was a period of bold ideas and groundbreaking inventions. While disco balls and bell-bottoms successfully dominated the world, there were products that failed to win the hearts of consumers and became a flopped part of history. Perhaps you've seen advertisements for convenient frozen egg slices or a shampoo that sounded edible. Today, let's go back in time to discover the 20 strangest, most unforgettable failed products the 1970s left behind. Swing bike. The 70s, an era when everyone wanted to be different, even with a bicycle. The swing bike is a prime example of that spirit. Patented in 1974, this bicycle was unlike any you'd ever seen. Instead of just steering the front wheel, the swing bike allowed the rider to control both the front and rear wheels thanks to a second steering axle placed right under the seat. It was like steering a metal snake with two separate brains. The manufacturer positioned it as a stunt performance machine, something to look cool and show off skills. You could make elegant S-turns or even ride with two wheels on two different surfaces, one wheel on the sidewalk, one on the grass, for example. However, that cool dream quickly faded. The reason for the swing bike's failure can be summed up in three words: difficult to control, unstable, and dangerous. The dual steering system, which was supposed to be its breakthrough feature, became its Achilles heel. You'd try to turn left, but the back wheel wanted to go straight, and in a flash, you'd find yourself on the ground. I'm sure many 70s kids have scars on their knees or elbows. The sound of crashes, the cries of falling children, and the frustration of parents must have echoed through the streets. Existing for only 4 years, the swing bike ceased production in 1978. Today, it is remembered as an amusing footnote in bicycle history, a humorous testament that no matter how clever an idea seems, practicality and safety are always key. Perhaps we should be grateful that modern bicycles have learned this lesson, so riding is no longer an accidental circus act. Bell Picture Phone. The Bell Picture Phone seemed to come straight out of science fiction at the time with its video calling capabilities. Its prototype debuted at the 1964 World's Fair, and the first commercial version was introduced in 1970. In the 70s, you could see the person you were talking to. It was a revolution, promising to bridge geographical distances and bring people closer, albeit only for one-on-one conversations. So what caused such a visionary invention to fail spectacularly? Primarily, its price was very high. To own one, you had to pay $160 per month, equivalent to over $1,200 today, not including per-minute call charges. That was a huge sum that very few families could afford. Not only that, the device was bulky, taking up significant desk space, and the image quality was grainy. Not as sharp as expected. You'd have to squint to recognize the person on the other end, which made the experience quite unpleasant. The Bell Picture Phone was not commercially successful. It became a peculiar slice of technology history, later auctioned for over $7,500. Although the Bell Picture Phone failed, its vision was far ahead of its time. It laid the groundwork for the video calling technologies we use daily, from Skype, FaceTime, to Zoom. Betamax. In 1975, Sony introduced Betamax, a video format that promised a revolution in how we consume home entertainment. The most special thing about Betamax was its superior picture and sound quality. I still remember the fierce debates among friends about how much sharper Betamax was than VHS. Its quality was so good, believe it or not, that broadcasters and production companies continued to use Betamax tapes for professional work until the 2000s. You could fast forward, rewind, and pause without fear of stuttering, a truly valuable experience at the time. So why did a product with superior quality fail in the format war? Sony's fatal mistake was refusing to license the technology to other electronics companies. They wanted to maintain exclusive control over Betamax, believing that quality would automatically win. But the market taught them a costly lesson. Refusing to license led to too few Betamax player manufacturers and, more importantly, very few movie titles released in this format. Meanwhile, JVC's rival VHS adopted a more open strategy, licensing to anyone who wanted to produce players and tapes. The consequences were catastrophic for Betamax. Its market share dropped from 100% in 1975 to just 10% in 1988. Ultimately, Betamax lost the format war, not because it was inferior, but because it was not open. The failure of Betamax is a classic lesson in business and technology. Product quality is important, but business strategy, especially compatibility and market expansion, is even more crucial. It is also a reminder that sometimes conservatism can kill a genius idea. Downey Flake Toaster Eggs. Toaster eggs sounds like a joke, but it was once an oddly convenient dream. In 1972, Downey Flake Toaster Eggs officially launched frozen egg slices designed to be popped into a toaster and ready in minutes. No pan, no oil. Just a push of a button and you had a hot breakfast. Sounds like a revolution, doesn't it? It was incredibly convenient for hurried breakfasts. This bold idea came from Downey, who had previously achieved resounding success with Pop-Tarts and toaster waffles, two products that revolutionized American breakfast, and people had high hopes for this new invention from him. However, this dream quickly turned into a nightmare. In reality, these egg slices looked more like hockey pucks than an appetizing dish. And not just their appearance, they were also unappealing in taste and texture. Imagine an egg slice toasted in a toaster instead of fried in a pan. It became chewy, dry, and had an odd taste. Disappointment was evident on the faces of children when they took their first bite. For these reasons, Downey Flake Toaster Eggs were quickly discontinued in 1975, lasting only 3 short years. Perhaps the aroma of frying grease or the sizzle of a pan was still what many preferred over quickness or convenience. Polaroid Polavision. Polaroid was once the king of instant photography systems. Photos printed instantly after being taken were considered magic in the 70s. Building on that success, Polaroid introduced Polaroid Polavision, hoping to compete with Kodak, which had dominated the market with their Super 8 film. Polavision was a unique home movie system, using special film cartridges that allowed color film development in minutes using a dedicated viewer or projecting onto a Super 8 projector. Sounds very innovative, doesn't it? However, promises of convenience and speed could not hide its fatal flaws. Polavision had weak image quality, required extremely bright light for filming, colors were dull, and most importantly, it could not record sound. Imagine filming a family movie of your child's birthday without the sounds of laughter, singing, or congratulations. It's like looking at a beautiful painting, but missing its soul. Additionally, Polavision launched at the same time Betamax and VHS were thriving. These two formats not only offered better image quality, but also allowed recording and replaying TV shows, which Polavision could not do at all. While people wanted to record their favorite shows or movies, Polavision only offered silent, low-quality footage of everyday moments. Polavision was Polaroid's first commercial failure, ceasing production in 1979, ending an idea that was too creative but had too many weaknesses to develop further. Have you ever owned or remember any of these products? Share your story in the comments below. Sansui Quadraphonic Sound. In the 70s, as rock and disco music boomed, Sansui Quadraphonic Sound, launched in 1972, promised to deliver an unprecedented listening experience. Its idea was to provide sound from the front, back, left, and right, creating a much more immersive and encompassing listening space than traditional stereo sound. It was a seemingly impossible dream for music lovers. In fact, many major artists like Aerosmith, Eric Clapton, and the Eagles released albums specifically mixed for this 4-channel system. However, the dream of perfect sound hit a major obstacle. Consumers were unwilling to upgrade their entire sound system just for 2 additional speakers. You know, in the 70s, a hi-fi sound system was already a significant investment, and now Sansui was asking you to buy more speakers, more decoders, more cables tangled all over the room. It was not only expensive, but also complicated to set up. Besides, the initial decoding technology of this system was also unstable, sometimes causing distorted sound or not meeting expectations. The feeling of disappointment when an expensive system didn't work perfectly was hard to accept. The quadraphonic sound concept quietly ended in 1978. Today, functional Sansui quadraphonic receivers still hold value in the antique market as a relic of a grand idea that didn't find its place. It's a lesson about convenience and cost. No matter how advanced technology is, if it demands too much investment and change from users, it will be difficult to succeed. However, it also paved the way for the modern surround sound systems we enjoy today, proving that Sansui's vision was not wrong, just a bit ahead of its time. Clairol yogurt shampoo. Do you remember when the 70s saw a surge in natural and organic trends? Clairol yogurt shampoo was a product born from that wave, launched in 1979. As its name suggests, this shampoo contained yogurt with natural organic proteins, promising to bring softness and health to hair in a very natural way. The unique and also disastrous aspect was the product packaging. It looked more like a snack than shampoo, with gentle colors and appealing yogurt imagery. Its scent was also quite sweet, further misleading people. Many even wondered if they should use it to wash their hair or put it in a bowl with fruit. And that was its reason for failure. Consumers were severely confused about the product's nature. Can you believe it? There were even reports of people trying to eat it. This was clearly a fatal marketing error. Imagine a child opening the refrigerator, seeing a box of Clairol yogurt shampoo with beautiful yogurt images, and thinking it was a new dessert. Or an elderly person confused between hunger and wanting to wash their hair. The feeling of realizing you just tasted shampoo must have been very unpleasant. Clairol yogurt shampoo was quickly pulled from shelves. Today, it is remembered more as a bizarre footnote in shampoo history than a beauty breakthrough. Proof that sometimes being too natural can backfire. A product should still focus on its main purpose rather than making customers unsure what to buy it for. Sauna Hot Pants. In the 70s, when the weight loss craze became an obsession, many strange inventions emerged to meet that demand. One of the most memorable products was Sauna Hot Pants. These inflatable shorts promised something seemingly impossible, melting away excess fat without dieting or exercise, just by wearing them to retain heat and sweat. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Advertisements called them slimming jeans or inflatable sauna pants, a bizarre combination of fashion and wishful thinking. However, reality was much harsher than the advertisements. Sauna Hot Pants were quickly deemed silly, uncomfortable, and completely ineffective. Inflating the pants to create a sauna effect was already a chore, and when worn, the feeling was stuffy, uncomfortably hot. People quickly realized that sweating only caused water loss, not fat reduction. Moreover, wearing pants that looked like a life raft in hot summer weather was certainly not a desirable fashion experience. What a strange idea, a desperate attempt to find a shortcut to a fit physique without effort. Sauna Hot Pants quickly failed. They are remembered as an amusing footnote in the history of bizarre weight loss gimmicks, proving that there are no shortcuts to a fit physique. You can sweat as much as you want, but without a proper diet and exercise, everything will go back to zero. LaserDisc. Amidst the escalating home video format war, LaserDisc launched in 1978, proudly being the first home video format to use optical discs. This was truly the predecessor of the later DVD, offering sharper video quality and clearer audio than VHS tapes. Looking like oversized CDs of the future, LaserDisc provided early access to directors' commentaries and special features that magnetic tapes couldn't. However, despite its superior quality, LaserDisc encountered major obstacles. It could not record, a fatal flaw compared to VHS, which allowed users to record their favorite TV shows. Furthermore, LaserDisc was expensive for both players and discs. A long movie often required 2 disc sides, making viewing interrupted and inconvenient. Imagine watching a great movie at its climax and having to get up to flip the disc. This clearly could not compare to the convenience of VHS tapes. The bulky size of the discs was also a storage problem. LaserDisc ultimately remained a niche product. It failed when DVD emerged with better quality, lower price, and recording capability. Today, LaserDisc is considered a collector's dream, a relic of a technological transition era. Skyship, John West's flying saucer. Let's move on to something even crazier. In the 1970s, when the idea of flying cars was still a distant dream for humanity, John West made a bold attempt with his Skyship. This was a giant unmanned metal flying saucer tested in 1975. West's goal was to create a vehicle that could take off from the ground and be controlled by radio signals, a major step forward in aviation technology. The most unique thing was that it was considered Britain's first flying saucer, carrying hopes for a future where humans could easily fly through the sky. The roar of the engines as the disc took off must have attracted a lot of attention. However, that flying dream ended with a less than smooth landing. The reason for its failure was the unsuccessful attempt at controlled flight. The controls were difficult to use, weather posed significant obstacles, and the biggest challenge was altitude instability. This instability not only prevented the project from progressing, but also posed a great danger. John West's Skyship project ultimately did not have any large manned versions ever take off. However, isn't it fun to imagine those early pioneers huddled around their radios, cheering as a flying disc hovered into the sky? Even if it never became popular, West's creativity reminds us that wild ideas can be fleeting like clouds, but it contributed to later research and development in flying vehicles. TV hat. The TV hat was one of the strangest inventions that attempted to realize the need for mobile entertainment. Launched in the late 1970s, this hat was a combination of a baseball cap with a mini TV screen. It allowed you to watch your favorite shows hands-free and anywhere. Imagine watching a baseball game right on your hat while walking down the street. Honestly, it was very convenient and interesting, wasn't it? However, this convenience came with too high a price. The first and most obvious reason for its failure was that it looked ridiculous. You would become the center of attention, but not out of admiration, but out of surprise and perhaps amusement. More importantly, squinting at a small screen a few inches from your face led to eye strain, headaches, and an uncomfortable viewing experience. The image quality was poor, often noisy, and very difficult to see without perfect lighting. You would struggle with blurry, flickering images, and sometimes even have to tilt your head to catch the signal. The TV hat quickly disappeared from the market. It is remembered as one of the bizarre inventions that tried to predict the future but got it completely wrong. The TV hat is a vivid testament that technology needs to serve humans comfortably and efficiently, rather than humans having to serve the device. Twist and tone. In the wave of bizarre weight loss inventions of the 1970s, twist and tone emerged as a miraculous solution. This was a surprisingly simple weight loss device. Users simply stood on a rotating platform and twisted their bodies from side to side. It promised to help you lose weight and tone your waist without any traditional exercise effort. The unique and questionable thing was that it looked like a kitchen lazy Susan, an item so simple it was hard to believe it could bring such miraculous results. However, like most other miracle solutions, twist and tone was not actually effective for real weight loss. Sweating and twisting on a rotating disc might make you feel like you're exercising, but it wasn't enough to significantly burn fat. Furthermore, users often felt quite silly performing this movement, and even worse, they often got dizzy. Imagine spinning continuously on a disc for a few minutes. You would feel dizzy and might lose your balance. Although versions of the twist and tone existed since the 1960s, none of them ever achieved great success. 8-track tape cleaning kits. In the 1970s, when 8-track tapes were the most popular music format, 8-track tape cleaning kits were widely sold. They often included brushes, sponges, and sprays, advertised to improve sound quality and extend tape life. For music lovers of that era, keeping their precious tapes in good working order was incredibly important. However, reality was much harsher. These kits rarely worked as advertised. Some brushes were too coarse, sprays too sticky, and sponges often did more harm than good, sometimes leaving residue or scratching tapes, accelerating their wear. Imagine, instead of cleaning, you accidentally damaged your favorite tape. The feeling of disappointment when hearing clicks or distorted sounds after cleaning must have been very unpleasant. Most users quickly realized this was primarily a gimmick and stopped using them. In the late 70s and early 80s, compact cassettes began to dominate, and the demand for 8-track accessories quickly faded. Firestone 500 tire. In the early 1970s, the Firestone 500 tire was launched with attractive advertising, providing a buttery smooth ride and longer-lasting tread. For drivers at that time, a durable and safe tire was extremely important, and Firestone was a trustworthy name. However, behind those promises lay a terrifying truth. The Firestone 500 tire had a serious design flaw causing sudden blowouts while the vehicle was in motion, especially at high speeds. Oh no, that was a real nightmare, a life-threatening situation. Reports of failures, injuries, and lawsuits poured in, creating a wave of public outrage. What was even more reprehensible was that Ford, the car manufacturer using this tire, knew about the defect, but chose to pay legal settlements instead of fixing the problem, an irresponsible decision, prioritizing profit over consumer safety. This scandal led to one of the largest recalls in history, with over 14 million tires recalled. The Firestone 500 became a clear warning about the explosive consequences of neglecting safety checks. It left a dark mark in manufacturing history, a reminder of the importance of corporate responsibility and transparency in business. Danka Toaster snacks. In the 1970s, when breakfast convenience was still a hot trend, Danka Toaster snacks were introduced, small pastries with fruit filling, designed to be toasted in a toaster. They were marketed with the hope of bringing a mini pastry experience right into every family's kitchen. Sounds similar to Pop-Tarts, but with its own flavor and style. However, Danka Toaster snacks encountered a serious design flaw. Their reason for failure was that the delicate edges of the pastry often burned or tore when toasted, and the filling often oozed out, creating a sticky mess in the toaster. Imagine opening your toaster to find a pile of burnt fruit filling stuck tightly in the heating slots. That was not just disappointment, but also a cleaning nightmare. Instead of a quick meal, you were faced with a mess and a smoking toaster. Danka Toaster snacks were eventually replaced by Toast-'em with simpler shapes and harder crusts. For a fleeting moment, these snacks promised a taste of European style right at home, then disappeared almost as quickly. QUBE Interactive TV. In 1977, Warner Cable introduced QUBE Interactive TV, an advanced interactive TV system, an idea truly decades ahead of its time. QUBE allowed viewers to interact by pressing buttons on the remote to vote in live polls, choose how programs unfolded, or even influence the next music video. This was a cutting-edge effort, a vision of future television that we are only now beginning to see through streaming systems and smart TVs. However, this dream was too far removed from the technology and consumer habits of the era. QUBE was too expensive to install, buggy in operation, and quite complex for the average user. Having to constantly press buttons to interact, with the system sometimes failing to respond or glitching, frustrated users. The complexity and high cost led to a lack of widespread adoption. People simply wanted to sit down and watch TV leisurely, not turn it into a game requiring concentration and effort. QUBE failed in the early 1980s. However, it still deserves recognition as one of the earliest efforts in interactive television. QUBE's vision laid the groundwork for what we have today, from live voting applications on TV to interactive movies on Netflix. Clackers Toy Ban. In the early 1970s, clackers were a real toy craze. Do you remember them? They were two heavy acrylic balls attached to a string, and the goal was to swing the two balls up and down until they clacked together, creating a distinctive clacking sound. They were noisy, flashy, and addictive, becoming a popular toy in playgrounds. However, this fun concealed a deadly danger. Clackers were too fragile. When struck too hard, they could shatter like glass, sending sharp fragments that caused cuts, chipped teeth, and even severe eye injuries to children. A toy that could turn everything into a nightmare. Parents' fear and anxiety were completely justified. The U.S. government quickly acted, banning the sale of clackers in the mid-1970s. The clacker craze ended as quickly as it began. Clackers' legacy is a costly lesson about toy safety and manufacturer responsibility. If this video brings back interesting memories for you, please like and subscribe to the channel to explore more nostalgic stories with us. AMC Pacer. In 1975, as the fuel crisis raged, AMC launched the AMC Pacer, advertised as the car of the future. And with its unique design, the Pacer stood out with its giant curved windows and wide bubble-like body. It had a shape completely different from traditional car models, earning it the nickname Fishbowl on Wheels. Although it looked peculiar from the outside, the Pacer's interior space was surprisingly impressive, unexpectedly roomy, providing comfort for occupants. Despite its futuristic vision, the Pacer could not overcome present challenges. It was heavy and fuel inefficient, a fatal flaw amidst the severe fuel crisis of the 1970s. How could a car of the future that consumed more gas than current models be accepted? Its rounded, futuristic design also wasn't popular with the majority. Many found it too bizarre, not aligning with general tastes. Pacer production stopped in 1980. It is remembered as a bold experiment in car design, a car that dared to be different but didn't entirely succeed. The Pacer also appeared in the movie Wayne's World, becoming a cultural icon for the quirkiness of the 70s. Ford Pinto. As the U.S. faced an oil crisis in the early 1970s, Ford launched the Ford Pinto in 1971. Its goal was to be a compact car, cheap, lightweight, and fuel-efficient, extremely attractive factors for consumers at the time. The Ford Pinto promised to be an economical, accessible transportation solution for every family. It was a symbol of practicality and convenience. However, what initially seemed like a perfect solution turned into a terrible disaster. The Pinto had a fatal design flaw. Its fuel tank was positioned in a very vulnerable spot at the rear of the car, tending to rupture and explode in the low-speed rear-end collisions. And at that point, a minor parking lot bump could turn your car into a ticking time bomb. How terrible! Even worse, internal Ford documents revealed that the company knew about this defect, but chose to pay legal settlements rather than fix the problem. This was an unethical decision, prioritizing profit over human lives. When the truth came out, the Ford Pinto scandal became a major PR disaster for Ford and quickly became a symbol of corporate negligence. It is one of the most unfortunate blemishes in automotive industry history. AVE Mizar. AVE Mizar was an ambitious combination of a Ford Pinto chassis and a Cessna Skymaster airframe. They wanted to create a vehicle that could glide on roads, then deploy its wings and take to the sky. A very thrilling and ambitious idea, perhaps a little crazy. If the product succeeded, you could drive yourself to the airport, then take off and fly directly to your destination. Truly an appealing prospect, a dream of absolute freedom. However, this dream ended in tragedy. The AVE Mizar project ceased after a catastrophic test crash in 1973, claiming the life of its co-founder. Engineers faced serious problems with weight and balance, and costs soared uncontrollably. Clearly, combining a car with an airplane was not as simple as just putting two things together. Technical complexity and safety were insurmountable challenges. The painful sound of the crash certainly extinguished all hope for a near-future flying car. AVE Mizar remains a symbol of hopes held back by reality. It is a painful story of aspiration and daring, but also an indispensable part of humanity's journey of exploration and development. Which product do you think was the biggest failure of the 70s and why? Share your thoughts in the comments. These stories are not just about product failures, but also about the spirit of daring to think, daring to do, and daring to experiment of a generation. We can see optimism, a desire for convenience, and also lessons about safety, business, and responsibility. Thank you for joining me on this journey back in time. Please continue to share your stories and memories in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video.